I play the ukulele and I sing too.
You won't stay here and I can't go with you.
No slug without a name. Do you think it possible that I was once considered to be attractive?
Hello and welcome to Rolling News. I'm Zoe and today we'll be discussing the fall of cinema and the rise of video on demand. To really get to the bottom of the topic, is cinema really dying? For an independent production company such as Seesaw Films, this decline in cinema is incredibly important. In 2010 they released The King's Speech, which grossed $414.2 million at the box office, proving a massive success. Then, in 2016, 5 years after The King's Speech, they released Lion, which only grossed $140.1 million, even though they were both of similar production budget, the same genre of film, and had notable actors as the main roles.
Strictly business.
Cinema has always been an incredibly important part of our culture, with some incredibly talented films coming out of the UK every year. It is impossible to understand why cinema is falling. We spoke to the head of the BFI to talk more about why cinema is important and his take on the issue.
At the BFI, we're most interested in films being shown on the big screen. Filmmakers don't design these films and we don't fund them for them to be shown on phones with headphones. In order to get younger people into the cinemas, we've introduced the under 25 scheme, which means that students, young adults, can watch a film for only £3. And there's also our BFI membership, which offers exclusive discounts in our shop and events that are open to members, which costs only £35 a year. And of course there's the London Film Festival and other festivals themed, which are a chance for independent filmmakers to get their films seen by a wider audience.
I am big. It's the pictures that got small.
One of the cinema's biggest threats is video on demand sites such as the London-based streaming service Movie, where for just £5.99 a month, you can experience a selection of films worldwide, ranging from sell-out blockbusters to independent masterpieces.
How's that supposed to make me feel?
Even though they currently only have 100,000 subscribers, the company is slowly gaining more popularity with people who adore all forms of film. Of course, this is not the only form of video on demand. Other forms such as Netflix and Amazon are increasingly popular and are giving the cinema a run for their money.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
We spoke to some members of the public to see where and how they watch their favourite films. Here are a few of the responses we received.
Normally I watch my films at the cinema due to the different experiences you get.
I watch them online using Amazon Prime, or I go into the cinemas.
At the cinema, but only when I'm going with friends and it's a special event or something.
I watch most of them on Putlocker, but I can torrent them off of Pirate Bay on the unblocked browser.
So I mostly watch them on sites such as Amazon Prime, Netflix, sometimes on YouTube.
Dude, this thing claims I have mail. It's amazing what we can do with computers these days.
It appears the future of filmmaking is changing, as more up-and-coming filmmakers are putting their work on sites such as YouTube and Vimeo in order to get their work seen by thousands. On June 27, 2003, Tommy Wiseau released the cult classic The Room, which, even though it was deemed the worst movie ever made, has become a major success through people sharing it and Tommy Wiseau and Greg Sestero's constant promotion and special screenings of the film.
You are tearing me apart, Lisa!
Sestero went on to write a book about his experience entitled The Disaster Artist, which was made into a film in December of last year by James and Dave Franco, who took on the role of Wiseau and Sestero's characters from the cult classic. Even after 15 years, Wiseau and Sestero are still working together, the most recent piece being Best Friends, which premiered at the Prince Charles Cinema earlier this year. This is an example of how an independent film can reach the masses, even though the film only had a limited release.
What a story, Mark.
We also recently spoke to Sammy Paul, an up-and-coming director on YouTube, about his views on the fall of cinema and what that could potentially mean for him. We asked Sammy on Twitter direct message, what are your views on the decline of cinema, and do you think cinemas are still necessary? He replied, it's sad to see the decrease in cinema goers, but with the rise of ticket prices, online piracy and home entertainment models such as Netflix, it's certainly not surprising. I think those who truly love film as a medium, particularly those who want to go into the industry, really should go that extra mile to see films on the big screen, thus helping keep cinemas alive.
Bad. Terrible. Worse than terrible.
To conclude, while cinema is slowly fading, it does not appear that it will be completely erased from our lives in the near future. For independent filmmakers, though, this does mean that there are other options to get their films seen and heard, rather than just going through the traditional route, even if it is sometimes a tad inconvenient.
As if!
But what do you think? Let us know on our social media pages and get involved with the conversation. But for now, this has been Rolling News, and that's a wrap.
Watch consider to be